English, Grade 4, Block 15, The Fly by Walter de la Mare. Lesson by teacher Shikha. Students will be able to identify the perspective of the poem The Fly. Grade 4 children, today in this video we will read a poem which actually shows us how the fly. It talks about how the world appears to a fly. The question which we have to think and visualize is, whose perspective is the poem written? So children, I would like to give you one example first. That is, so children, can you see this picture of a ball? How does this ball appear to each one of you? How would the ball appear to a giraffe that is so tall? How would it appear to an ant that is so tiny? Children, the ball will appear different to a giraffe and an ant. For giraffe, it will be a tiny thing, and for a tiny ant, this ball will be a huge thing. Right? Now, in this poem, we are going to learn the perspective of the fly. It talks about how the world appears to a fly. So the question what we have to think is, what does the poem describe? From whose perspective is the poem written? The poem describes us how the world appears differently to a fly. The poem has been written from the perspective of a tiny fly. What things does the poet imagine the fly to look at? How will they appear to fly? The poet imagines that the fly might look at different things such as rosebud, its prickle, a dewdrop, a hair, a loaf of bread, and a wasp. These things might appear as a featherbed, a spear, a looking glass, a wire, a hill, and a leopard to a fly. So children, I would like to ask you one question. What will the poem describe if written from the perspective of a giraffe? What giraffe will think about the same things which fly is noticing, observing and watching? Here I also want you all to compare one thing with the other thing. What things are compared in the poem? How are they described in the poem? So which words do we use to show the comparisons in this? The things that are compared have some features in common. For example, a wasp and a leopard both kill their prey with cruelty. That is why they are compared even though they are different in many ways. We can't compare a prickle with a featherbed because they don't have any feature in common. The words like and as are used to show the comparisons. When we compare two unlike things using like or as, it is called a comparison. It means that we are showing the similarities. So these comparisons make the poem more descriptive. We are able to create clear images in our mind about how the things might appear to the fly. For example, the comparison between the hair and the golden wire helps us to imagine how exactly a hair appears to a fly. If it was simply written that the hair appears very long, it would not be as easy to imagine. Also, the line would not have been very interesting to read. Let's read the poem, The Fly. by Walter de la Mare. How large unto the tiny fly must little things appear, a rosebud like a featherbed, its prickle like a spear, a dewdrop like a looking glass, a hair like golden wire, the smallest grain of mustard seed as fierce as coals of fire, a loaf of bread, a lofty hill, a wasp, a cruel leopard, and specks of salt as bright to see as lambkins to a shepherd. So children, have you noticed there are all different things are different from fly's perspective, from fly's vision. Okay, so such examples we have to think and imagine to understand the concept of similarities, comparisons, that how poet is visualizing and imagining things according to fly's perspective, so that when you are writing your poem or your piece of writing, you will be able to make your imagination work in a similar way of poet. Try to add on more similarities in this poem. Have a great day ahead, children. Thank you. Bye bye.